Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy, and welcome back to a brand new movie review. I'm Chris, joined today with George, and George is actually going to give his review on It Chapter 2. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it this weekend. There was a lot of stuff going on this weekend, and it's a very long movie, at almost 3 hours long, so unfortunately I couldn't make it to this one, which is a far cry from 2 years ago when me, you, all it to one. Which was actually probably one of the best movie screening experiences of my entire life. It was really good fun. However, you are flying solo on this one today, so we've done reviews like this before, where it's more of sort of like a interview, hot chair kind of questionnaire almost. I'm going to throw questions at you. I roughly know the plot of It Chapter 2. I read the plot from the book, and I'm guessing they have made quite a lot of changes from the book to the movie, as indeed the first film did. So once again, it's bringing back the same director, Andy Muschietti, I think it is, and it's all of the kids from the first movie aged up 27 years later. You got the likes of Jessica Chastain, James McAvoy, Bill Hader, to name a few, and Bill Skarsgård returning once again as everyone's favorite demonic clown, Pennywise. What were your thoughts going into this one then? Because I think the comment that we both talked about was, it's fucking long at 3 hours.
Yeah, that was my biggest issue. I went like 10 o'clock this morning on a Sunday. I'm not going to lie. The main thing I remember about the first film was just terrorizing Tate in the screening. I didn't particularly care for that. I didn't care for the actual film. I thought it was just, I'm not big on horror. I think that's a big thing to say first. There are a lot of horror fanatics. I've not been into the genre. I think it's a fair way of saying it. Nothing personal. It's just that it's never really clicked for me. So that's not something that I would normally go and see, but obviously there was so much hype of it. Everybody went to see it. The trailers look great. Obviously the iconic Georgie stuff and everything. So it was a very weird one. And then the most exciting thing about Chapter 2 was seeing the cast they were going to have for the film. That's the big thing. That I've not read the book. I've got no intention of reading the book. I've never read a Stephen King book. I've seen many of the film adaptations, but I just wasn't really feeling it. I think, because I wasn't massive on the first one, it was kind of like, do I really want to see the same film again? It's like, okay, the cast is interesting, but there was something there where I just really couldn't be bothered. And, it's come out this weekend, and the box office figures are coming out now. It's made 90 million in America, which is, for a horror film, very high. It's also 40 million less than It Chapter 1's opening weekend. Yeah, I think the length put me off massively. When someone said it's going to be like 3 hours long, and it's the same film twice, and there's a dancing clown. He's targeting a group of people. He's going to scare them when he could have killed them many hours ago on screen. But no, he's just going to keep scaring them. And there's the film in a nutshell.
Well, I mean, in the book at least, I can't remember if they made this in the first one. They say that the reason he scares them first is because it's like salting the meat before he eats them. It's like, I guess they're more tastier when they're more scared or something like that. I guess that's the reason they go for. But the book, it's probably over 1,000 pages. I'm not sure on the exact page count for it, but it's big. But even still, the fact that this is 3 hours, and also the story that they're telling, it doesn't seem like a story that needs to be told in 3 hours. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It seems like a very simple plot. I'm guessing, I don't want to go into spoilers with it. I've read some things from the actual plot of the book, and I don't know what they've changed in the film. You've got your cast of characters, and I think, have they all forgotten what's happened to them or something, and they have to go and try and remember what's happened to each of them?
Kind of. I'm trying to put it. They kind of go in not with the intention of that, but you've got the one that stayed at home in Derry, who's going to be like the main character, and then you've got the other ones who are there, who I wouldn't say they forgot, but you don't get that vibe they've forgotten, but you get the vibe they've grown up, and it's there inside of them. I think that's one way of saying it. So it's a film that I don't think. Sorry, they haven't forgotten. I'm trying not to spoil it. It's very predictable, like the outcome of all of it. It's nice seeing the characters, like, because I haven't seen it in 2 years. Obviously, 2 years to the day since we all watched it. Seeing the characters was interesting. Obviously, Jessica Chastain. We've got the picture up on screen as well. Bill Hader was one I was most interested in seeing, because his turn from comedy to drama has been very, very interesting. I think TV-wise, he even won an Emmy, was nominated this year. But seeing him into that role, obviously, it's about, to me, it was about the actor seeing They all genuinely looked the same, obviously, except I've forgotten his name, the one that played the chubby one. But the whole point of his character arc is that he lost the weight.
He's lost weight, yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting at the start seeing where they are in their lives, but then once they come back to Derry, it's predictable from the first minute until the final.
I guess my question is, do you believe the actors they've got to play the adult versions, do you believe that those kids would have aged into these characters? Do they have any similar mannerisms from the kids or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think all of them, the writing's fine with them. Like they're the personas and whatnot. The more interesting one's James McAvoy that I forgot in the first one. He's got a really bad stutter, and it's more like his nerves and whatnot. And where the film begins, he's been very successful and he's talking normally again because I completely forgot. And then in the flashbacks, I remember the stutter. But then as the film progresses, the stutter slowly comes back as I guess it's his fear and whatnot. Right. So he's great. Bill Hader's the best out of the cast in this.
I've heard
that. I mean, back in like comedy days, super bad cameo in Pineapple Express. Whenever you've seen him do comedy, he's good at it, and he's had this transition into drama now, and he's got that kind of vibe where you can tell he's a comedy actor. He's got these great lines. There's, minor spoiler alert, he does his. If anyone has ever seen him on talk shows, he's as famous for impressions as his own comedy. He somehow got to do the Jabba the Hutt impression in the film, and like an opening scene, which was pretty cool. And his character arc is that he's he's a successful stand-up comedian. So that's kind of like natural. Each character's had a natural progression with some groundwork laid from the first film. Groundwork I don't remember that they remind you of. The one big thing I'll say about this is they don't expect everybody to have remembered the first film because the really important stuff, they have not flashbacks, but it's there in talking and whatnot. So that did help massively. Because also when they start saying their names, I don't remember anyone's name.
Yeah, I mean I'm guessing you didn't rewatch the first one before seeing this one, did you? That would have been on me as well. I wouldn't have rewatched it, but it is a very simple plot, and we kind of know where the plot's heading. So that kind of covers the main cast of the kids now aged up into adults. There's one character we still need to talk about, and that is Scar as Clown. I've heard from people that have already seen it. I think they say that he's not actually in it all that much, at least as the clown in this one.
No. He's got a couple of scenes, and I can't remember if there was loads of him in the first one or little bits. I definitely think there was more in chapter 1. This film is I don't know if this is a spoiler, so jump in if I say it. He's he comes back. He's got a good scene at the start. He then gets a good scene a couple of scenes later, and then it's like, oh, Pennywise is back. And then the film is basically, it's 3 hours long, which is too long. But the whole film is there's openings. There's opening. The middle of the film is basically each character has a 15-minute situation with Pennywise. Just do that 5-6 times, then you've got your finale. It was so predictable, which was really... I'm not saying it made it tough to watch, because it was fine to watch. Again, it was character building for them, but at the same time, you feel it being a 3-hour film when this happens. That's my issue with... I don't want to complain about the runtime again. I've not read the book. Maybe it's accurate, maybe it's not. But it seems I understood what they were doing. But then when you get to that finale, you kind of drained out, and you don't really want to see any more of Pennywise. And you get to a point where they're just chucking his head on bodies, and not as in not physically, as in like how he's like a shapeshifter and whatnot. Yeah, really went for it's Pennywise again. Oh, it's Pennywise, and he definitely wasn't. I don't think he was that scary in the first one, but it definitely wasn't anywhere near as scary as the first film. I don't find it scary anyway. There was maybe 2 jump scares in this. There wasn't much. There's more like a bit of creepiness, but in terms of horror, this is not the film you expect. And if anything, this is more of an adult, like psychological drama, more so than horror. It didn't feel like a psychological horror film either, whereas the first one did. What
is this movie? Like, what is it?
It's Stephen King's dream of thank God there's been. Is it cut me off?
Yeah, no, you're good now. You're good.
It's. I don't want to say it's self-indulgent because again, I've not read enough Stephen King. There is a reference to The Shining. Obviously, before the film, Doctor Sleep plays, and I think so does Birds of Prey Everywhere. That's in Warner Bros.' little contract, which is fair. No Tenet trailer still, which doesn't make sense. Warner Brothers. But I don't really know what this film is. I just think it is just It Chapter 2. There's a bit of there's a little bit of, I think, things people want, but ultimately I I don't know. I'm because I'm maybe not attached to the property. I think if you really loved the first one, loved the characters from the first one, and I think Chapter 2 is definitely going to be a film that you like more and that you're more emotionally engaged with. But for people that aren't as engaged with it, that have seen the first one, either don't remember it, thought it was fine, it's quite hard to go back into that world and spend 3 hours with them if it's not something that's kind of like teacher. It'd be like not enjoying Marvel. It'd be a bit like if you've seen like Avengers Infinity War, but you've not seen any of the films before that, and then you go into Endgame, and you're kind of like, why do I care about these people? And if you know, does that make sense? Like a vague comparison. You really need to be emotionally connected to these characters, and you know, for some of them you do, some of them you don't. And I think the performances are fine. Everyone's fine. Some are better than the others, but you need. I think this is a film where you really need to be already in it. I mean, if it wasn't for like obviously the channel one, this isn't a film I normally jump to go see at a cinema. And again, the runtime, it will put common people off.
So out of the two, would you say this is the weaker of the two, or do you still view it as like just one big combined whole bloody affair kind of story?
That's a good question. I think cause it's hard because I've seen both of them once, and obviously the experience with the first one was better being with you and Tate. It was a funner cinema experience, had so much more hype leading up to the release. This one I feel had better drama moments, but wasn't as compelling to watch as the first one, and you didn't get not the intrigue with the first one, but the first one's like, oh my god, look at Pennywise, look at this, look how terrifying all of this is, look what we're going to learn about these characters. Second one's kind of like, oh, you remember that from the first one, or do you remember a little bit about them from the first one? Here we go, 27 years later. So I think as a duo, it's probably a good viewing back to back. I reckon that'd probably be a good double bill. But if I was going to pick one to watch, it's going to be Chapter 1. I just think there's more to it.
The first one, even though you knew a second one was coming, did feel more self-contained. You can watch it as a beginning, middle, and there is a fairly see that. I'll be seeing this one next week. As I said, I couldn't make it to it this week, but I don't think there's anything massive coming out. I think Hustlers is out next week. I think there's another one as well coming out, but it's not a major film, so I'll be seeing this next week. Yeah, there's probably not really much else to say about it, to be honest. Do you have closing thoughts or anything like that? Or have you pretty much said everything you can on it?
I like to. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? I don't really have many thoughts on the film. I think Bill Skarsgård's great as Pennywise. I think he's. I've not seen the original series. I've seen clips of it. Which is the Tim Curry one. I think he's definitely made it his own, and that he's got that sort of. It's kind of like a pop culture phenomenon. I think Pennywise as an icon, I guess you could say. But you know, even in the first film, I think it's not intentional, but you had the build-up, which I remember you pointing out, was that in real life, had all the weird clowns that had been like randomly, just randomly being in streets. And I remember there was this clown craze before it came out, which kind of
I don't think that was just in the UK either, was it? Because I remember there was loads of like clown prank videos on YouTube going around at that time, and I think that actually came out before it was even a thing. So I think that started before, and then it came out, so it all felt kind of together, part of the same thing. Yeah,
I just think that these are films. I guess maybe in a couple of years you can look back at and be like, I can imagine these being, as time goes by. I don't want to say like outright a classic, but there's certainly going to be a lot of fan lists, maybe even critic lists that, oh, do you remember them horror films from then? Definitely think that it's been made into its own thing. Like I said, I thought this film was fine. It just wasn't anything spectacular, but it wasn't anything awful. It was just a
middle of the road.
Yeah, that kind of like, it's very average. You know, there's a good scene, there's usually a bad scene. You like some characters, don't like some, and it's an ensemble film as well. But it's hard to compare it to some other films I've seen this again, because I'm not big on horror as well. That kind of never helps going into watching horror films. But you know, I can understand it's like how big it is, but I can also understand how much people love it. You know, at the cinema, when I went on Friday to watch Tarantino film again, it was rammed. My screening was 2/3 full, but everywhere was showing it. Staff were dressed up as Georgie. Even today, they had balloons left in the walkways not in the screenings, but you know, sort of the corridors when you go into a screen. They just have like a lone balloon. I went at 10 in the morning, so it's like empty as well. You know, this is more of a, not the hype, but that kind of no, it's not really. The first one felt a bit like an event film. This one kind of feels like an aftermath of that, if that makes sense. Like everyone saw it chapter 1, but it
now
chapter,
people might not.
they're gonna wait. They're gonna wait. It'll be on Netflix in a couple of years. You know, chapter 1 was the one where it was really you need to see it, and I get that. Chapter 2 was like an epilogue. Yeah, it's a very weird experience. I'm intrigued to see what other people are going to think about it.
Well, the first movie made about 700 million, so it'll be interesting to see how much this one makes. I don't think it's going to get anywhere close to that, and I think that the running time is definitely going to have a big impact on that. And maybe the fact that everyone's kind of over it now. It was kind of a fad. It was kind of a craze at the time, and maybe that's dipped down a bit. But it'll be interesting to keep an eye on the numbers, and that will round off our review, I guess, and sort of links us on to what will be going live tomorrow, talking about box office numbers and things like that. I'm guessing you'll be going live with the news tomorrow for the roundup of all the movie news of this week. Maybe you'll get some box office numbers in there. Maybe you'll get the opening weekend of It numbers in there too. I'll be going live for some reactions next week as well. My work shifts are a bit more manageable, so I should be able to get back on track with those. I want to do Terminator Dark Fate. There's one for the new Bad Boys movie that's come out. There's a lot of trailers that's already come out, so they'll be coming out next week. More movie reviews, more show ideas, so please hit that subscribe button. Please bell about the next show. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.